Okay, this is plagiarism video 4. We're going to end it with this. So we're on slide 20 here, plagiarism prevention tip number 3. Follow the correct citation format for your discipline. There are not going to be any strictures, any necessary reference forms that I'm going to require of you, no matter what class you're in. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that I know what your sources are. I'm not going to be testing you on, did you do APA style, MLA, that sort of thing. I need to know, these instructions will be, and every time you have to write something, I will let you know how to do your references. MLA is Modern Language Association, generally used in the humanities. And then APA, which is what I use, is according to the American Psychological Association, generally used in the social sciences. I write a lot about the First Amendment. I write a lot about media effects. Those are the social sciences. Chicago style, generally used by history students. And then ACS, American Chemical Society for chemistry. There are lots of them. There are special legal styles. It just goes on and on and on. That's why, since I don't know what your need is going to be, I'm not going to tell you to write your references in APA. Just won't. On 21, here's our checklist. You've only directly quoted the few sentences that are so unique or technically worded that you need to use them intact. We don't want to overdo it. No paper should be more than 20% quoted material. All right? Remember that. I'll probably have that on a test. What is the most that you can, the largest percentage that you can have that's directly quoted in a paper? 20%. All direct quotations are enclosed in quotation marks and are correctly documented. When paraphrasing, you have translated the original into your own words using your own sentence structure, and you've correctly cited the source. When you paraphrase, you still have to put in parentheses at the end the source you got it from, but what you say, you're paraphrasing, is not in quotation marks because it's your words, not theirs. You understand that if you've summarized a section of material, you still need to provide a citation. That's what I just said. You've made sure that you haven't mistaken material that should be documented for common knowledge. Let me explain to you what common knowledge is. Common knowledge is stuff that everybody knows. Everybody knows that Independence Day is on July 4th, right? Everybody knows that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. We don't have to cite that because that's something everybody knows. But you want to be sure that what you think is common knowledge is really common knowledge. It's pretty much common knowledge that smoking will give you cancer. But it's not really common knowledge exactly what other diseases you might get from smoking. So you would probably have to cite that. You've made sure that your paper isn't a patchwork of other people's ideas strung together with a few transitions. And you've proofread your paper for plagiarism errors. Moving on to 22. Checklist of types of plagiarism. We've got something called wholesale plagiarism. You copy an entire source or document or a large section of the source and you present it as your own work. That's wholesale plagiarism. Patchwork plagiarism, copying portions of multiple sources, putting them together, rearranging them, and that sort of thing, and plopping them into your paper or speech and submitting the document as though you wrote it entirely by yourself. Then there is idea-based plagiarism, presenting someone else's unique interpretation, theory, or analysis as your own. This holds true even if you have changed the original wording. If I am going to talk about a theory, let's say the theory of relativity, and let's say I paraphrase it, I'm not going to give people the idea that that's my theory. I'm going to put in quotation marks, not in parentheses, Einstein, comma, and the year that he published his theory of relativity. Sprinkle plagiarism, often unintentional and due to poor note-taking. This is occasional failure to cite properly through missing information, punctuation errors, etc. I've had lots of students who don't understand why they've plagiarized when they give me all of these quotes from places, and very carefully in the parentheses they have the author, the year, the page number, but they forget to put it in quotation marks. That's plagiarism, okay? Because the person reading it doesn't know, gee, are these your words or Einstein's words? I'm a little confused. Then on 23, use this formula when introducing quoted, paraphrased, or summarized material into your paper. You have an intro, plus the source material, plus the citation, and then your interpretation. We call this introducing the source material. It allows you to create transition between ideas. So I will say, according to the New York Times reporter Jason Blair from 2013, quote, then I say it, and then I say end quote. Okay, I've introduced it. Before I say the quote, I introduce the quote as something from a New York Times reporter named Jason Blair. Interpretation of the material certifies that your ideas develop and take center stage in your research writing. Thinking through the formula engages you in the research process. Some of you are in journalism, and you've been taught certain ways in journalism to write. You may come up with a quote, and then comma, and then says Jason Blair of the New York Times. That's not how you're going to do it in my classes, because you're not writing an article for a newspaper. You're writing an essay for a class, or you're giving a speech. In the speech, you want to introduce the author first to the class so they know, oh, who is this coming from? Or basically, this is not coming from the speaker, this is coming from somebody else. All right? And on 24, plagiarism prevention tip number 4, review the Troy Library plagiarism resources for students. I give you 2 links here. Let me tell you what I tell all my students. The best resource you have on Troy's campus for any information is a librarian. And when you go to one of these links, you'll see that you can start a live chat with a librarian. You can ask that librarian a question. You can't do that with me, but you can do that with a librarian. Let's say that you're just stumped. You can't think of a detailed topic for a speech, but you know you want it to be about baseball. So you start up a live chat with a librarian and you say, I can't just give a speech on baseball. That's just way too broad for a 4-minute speech. So ask the librarian for some suggestions. That's fine to do. That's what they're there for. And maybe you can give me a book or an article to read. Okay, so that's fine. Now moving to our last one, plagiarism prevention tip number 5, visit the Writing Center. Sometimes after you submit a paper and I see that you have some structural problems with your writing, perhaps with grammar or sentence structure, that sort of thing, I'll probably suggest that you go to the Writing Center to get some help. There are people there that will sit down with you with your paper and help you through it. So that's a great thing. You can call this number, make an appointment. Uh, Dr. Serapin may on occasion recommend that you contact the Writing Center for help with your writing and or understanding of plagiarism. Please take me up on it. They're great. That's all they do is help people with their writing. Okay. Uh, when you get out into the real world, you won't be able to find somebody who's going to sit down with you and help you write. So please take me up on it, call them and let them do their thing. Okay? All right, that's it on plagiarism for today.